Hi, this is Coach Colette, host of the Start Within podcast, and welcome to this week's episode of Financial Fridays. Well, tomorrow, March 13th, marks 1 year since Breonna Taylor was killed in her home. She was an award-winning EMT and first responder in Louisville, Kentucky. On the night of March 13th, the Louisville Metro Police executed a no-knock warrant and sprayed her home with 20 rounds of bullets, shooting Breonna 8 times, killing her in her bed. When I learned of the incident and the tragedy and the senseless killing of Breonna Taylor last year, it was one of the true motivating forces that led me to pivot Libby to focus on women of color. Neither the Louisville Metro Police nor Mayor Greg Fisher have yet to give her mother, Tamika Palmer, any answers. The fight for Breonna continues. You can visit the site justiceforbreonna.org to learn more about the demands that are being requested, including demanding that the mayor and city council of Louisville address the use of force by the LMPD. In the show notes, we also will provide a link to the action site where you can actually sign the petition to encourage others to take action using the hashtag Breonna Taylor and hashtag Justice for Bree. We want to encourage the investigative agencies, institutions, and other individuals in charge to take action and make change. They're also seeking a policy for transparent investigation process when law enforcement misconduct happens, and to provide all necessary to a local independent civilian community police accountability council to ensure that these incidents are fully investigated and all information that is needed is known to the public. They're also seeking that the LMPD fire and revoke the pensions of the officers who murdered Breonna. I spoke recently about the disproportionate effect of police brutality on Black and brown bodies. This is not new. Unfortunately, it's a situation that still continues in 2021. Last week, I mentioned that the theme for International Women's Day is Choose to Challenge. This can be an issue that you can choose to challenge to continue this fight for justice for Breonna Taylor and her family. That's all for me for now. Get ready and listen up to today's tip from Suki Singh.
Hello everyone, this is Suki Singh, aka Investing, with your weekly Financial Friday tip. With the market recently moving lower, is your portfolio protected? Now is the time to brush up on your portfolio and see, in case of a down move, how much you would lose if the market moves lower. So be aware and protect your portfolio at all costs. That said, that is your weekly Financial Friday tip, and I'll speak to you soon. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Did you know that Black and Latinx women combined received just 0.64% of venture capital investment between 2018 and 2019? Or just that 0.27% went to Black female founders? Well, good news. Black Girl Ventures and Kim Crawford Wines have partnered together to support Black and brown women founders, particularly those of us with innovations at the intersection of wellness, self-care, and tech. They have launched a pitch competition and a crowdfunding campaign on the platform SheRaise.com. You can support Libby by signing up and getting registered on SheRaise.com and looking for the BGV by Kim Crawford pitch competition. You'll scroll and you'll see that Tap with Libby is there, and you can sign up to donate and vote. Voting is open now through March 18th. So, will you join me in supporting other women of color to tap their way to emotional freedom? Then go to SheRaise.com, find the BGV Kim Crawford pitch competition, and vote for Tap with Libby. Hey, welcome back to the Unplugged segment. Well, if you're like me, you probably have had several conversations this past week about the interview. Yes, the interview that Oprah had with Meghan and Harry. During the week, I was scrolling on social media, as we all do, and I saw a tweet. Well, actually, it was a picture of a tweet on Instagram. But anyway, there was a word in the tweet that captured my attention, and the word was misogynoir. And I had what was, I guess, an aha moment. It reminded me of what I felt during that interview. So let's flash back. I was watching the interview on Sunday, and they have, before they go to commercial break, they have the preview of what's coming up in the segment. And yes, this is the part where Oprah begins to ask the question of Meghan about, well, it seems that there were conversations about what the color of the children might look like. And when I heard that, I just felt this weird feeling in the back of my neck. And then, of course, we go to commercial, and then it comes back, and that's not always right where you jump into the interview. But then the question comes up, and Meghan starts speaking, and I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing up, and it was like this tingling in my spine. So now flash to seeing the picture of the tweet with the word misogynoir. And misogynoir is a term coined by Moya Bailey back in 2008 when she was a graduate student. And she is now a feminist scholar, writer, and activist. And she has a new book coming out in May called Misogynoir Transformed: Black Women's Digital Resistance. But let's talk about what this word means. So you may be familiar with the term misogyny, which is defined as an extreme form of sexism and often classified as a hatred of women. Well, the term misogynoir involves a specific type of misogyny with roots in racism. And Bailey coined this term, suggesting that it's not simply the racism that Black women encounter, nor is it the misogyny that Black women negotiate. It's the uniquely synergistic force of these two oppressions amalgamating into something more harmful than its parts. So that's a quote from Moya Bailey's article on her blog, Misogynoir and Kamala Harris, from October 16th, 2020. And there was something about seeing that word and even not really fully needing to see the definition and knowing that this is what I was feeling and experiencing as I was watching the interview as a Black woman. It was this feeling of being judged and criticized and not being believed and not being supported and feeling left out, abandoned. All of those feelings came up for me as I was watching this interview. And as I'm sure we're all I don't know. Actually, I'm going to take that back. I was going to say, I'm sure we're all surprised, but I'm sure we're not surprised, right? The more that I think about it, the less surprised that I am. And yet there's a part of us that thinks, well, she was a talented actor and, star in her own right, and becomes a duchess, and the monarchy is steeped in colonialism. So when we think about the institutions and the systems, we're not necessarily surprised. But when the person is sitting in front of you, or at least on the screen in front of you, there is some sort of shock of, it's 2021, or when this was happening in the late 2019, 2018, you think it's still happening now. And then you look at Meghan and you think it's still happening to someone like Meghan. So how does misogynoir play out in real life? There are a lot of ways that this happens. There are, of course, many stereotypes of Black women and Black girls. In general, Black women and Black girls have been overtly sexualized, leading to the stereotype of the so-called, quote, Jezebel. And the sexualization of Black women and girls started back in slavery, when European travelers went to Africa, started describing what the women there looked like, which led to slave owners justifying the rape of Black women, saying that they were insatiable and they couldn't get enough. So we use the stereotype to justify the rape, the oppression, the abuse, the discrimination. And all of the stereotypes of Black women are based in misogynoir. We have what I just described, the overly sexual Black woman. We have the strong Black woman, which I have been aiming to disrupt with my hashtag #DisruptStrong. The ever so popular angry Black woman. And then there's something called the sassy Black woman. And when I read that in an article on the Blackburn Center website, I remember being called sassy once by a white colleague, and it didn't occur to me then that there would be this somehow stereotype with it, that they were referring to something that I did or said in a certain way as being, quote, sassy. And would they have said that same word to a white woman? So all of these things are flushing through my nervous system. And you know that I talk about mind-body connection and somatic healing through EFT and breath work. And it just reminds me of how important it is for us to be not only dealing with the issues that are coming up in our minds, but also dealing with what's coming up in our bodies. And again, sometimes it's the personal trauma that comes up. Sometimes it's the collective trauma that comes up. And sometimes it's the historical or ancestral trauma that comes up. It's really important that we are able to process and heal from these experiences. Talking about them is great, and you also want to know, how is this showing up in your body? Are you feeling it somewhere in your head, your neck, your shoulders, your back, your stomach? What is showing up for you as you are dealing with and processing these issues? So we as Black women, we face the double whammy of racism and misogyny, and it impacts nearly every facet of our lives. So I'm going to hearken back again to the theme for the International Women's Day, which is choose to challenge. So how is it that we can choose to challenge misogynoir? How is it that we can continue the fight to help eradicate misogynoir? And how is it as Black women can we continue to process and heal from the impacts of misogynoir? That's all from me for now. As I say, take care of yourself, nourish yourself, love on yourself, Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll be speaking again soon. So what is your takeaway from this week's Financial Fridays segment? What might you do differently around your money and your mindset? For more financial advice, you can check out Suki's podcast, Invest Sing, where I also share tips on his Wellness Wednesdays segment. If you enjoyed this episode and haven't already subscribed, you can do so on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Coach_Colette for more inspiration on personal growth and wellness. Tune in next Friday for another episode and get ready to start within to finish strong.